Hello YouTube. Today we're going to be changing the spark plugs in a 2012 Honda Odyssey with a 3.5 liter V6. I'm just going to give a quick overview of how to get in there and how to get it done, and talk a little bit about the preparation for the spark plugs. So tools that you're going to need: just replacement spark plugs from AutoZone or wherever you get your stuff, flat blade screwdriver, a ratchet with a 10mm socket. And I opted to buy a magnetic spark plug socket instead of having the rubber gasket. As you can see, there's a little disc down there that's a magnet that holds the spark plug in place, and it's going to be about a 4-inch 3/8 extension to get into the spark plug hole there. So taking the engine cover off first, all you need to do is just turn these two screws right here 90 degrees. Since this one's already been off, it's going to come off a little bit easier than it normally would. But what you have to do is lift in the back here and pop the engine cover out of these grommets and kind of rock it out. Okay, the grommets that I'm talking about are right here and right here. And when I took my engine cover off, they were actually pulled out and they were stuck to this right here. So if that happens, it's no big deal. All I did was I just pulled them off, stuffed them back in here. If you leave them on the engine cover, you're not going to get it back in that hole. So all it is, it's pretty easy. It's pretty easy to get it in there when that plastic rod isn't in there, but it's not going to be possible for you to just try to jam it on there. So don't try that. Going to the spark plugs here, they're pretty easy to identify. This right here is your coil pack. You're going to notice 3 in the front, also 3 in the back. So just follow this wiring harness right here. You have 3 connectors coming off of it, 1, 2, and 3. Those are going to be your front 3 cylinders. In the back, you're not really going to be able to see it unless you had some kind of mirror. But what I would suggest doing is just kind of do it by feel. That's what I always get by with. So just kind of get a feel for this. Okay, we got our wiring harness going down. We got a little square coil pack, and then there's a bolt, a 10mm. I'm sorry, not a bolt, a nut, 10mm nut that's holding it in place. So for the wiring harness, to get it disconnected, all you need to do is push the center tab down. You'll hear a click. I don't know if you heard it. And then I'm trying to get a good view here. So you hear that click, that's pushing this tab down, and then grab and just kind of pull it off. That came off so easy. They all came off very easy. These cars are fairly new, so you're not going to really have issues with the plastic being brittle and things like that. Okay, so then this nut right here, like I said, it holds it on. I'm just gonna walk it off real quick. Okay, it's 10mm, so you do need to use the ratchet to get it off. But in this case, I've actually already replaced the front 3. And then this. Okay, so coming back to this, the coil pack right here, it's not clipped in or attached to the spark plug really in any way. It's just kind of set on top of it. Trying to get a good view here. So all you have to do is just grab it and pull it. It'll come straight out. Okay, these guys right here, you kind of have to rock to the side to get them out, and be very careful when you're doing this, because this tower right here is very it can be fragile. It's brittle. If you notice any sort of like gray haze on this, that's a sign that it's been compromised. If you notice a misfire at idle or at part throttle, it could be that this is broken and it's arcing against the side of the engine. So for that reason, you don't want to add any undue stress to it. When you come out, just try to go out and then just really gently pull it off to the side. These coil packs are all the same part. So if you have, when you pull them out, I just set them in a pile. You don't really have to deal with making sure you have, number 1 in the number 1 cylinder, number 3 in the number 3 cylinder. It doesn't work that way. They're all the same part. They're all interchangeable. In fact, if you have a suspected one that's bad and you're getting the cylinder misfire codes, what I usually do is I'll mix my suspect one with another one, and if the code changes to a different cylinder, then you can kind of figure that this is going to be the bad component. Okay, getting the spark plug out is easy as just putting the spark plug socket in there. You'll hear it. Drop it in there, turn it till you feel it sink down, and then take the spark plug out. When it comes out, you're going to notice these plugs right here, they have just under 50,000 miles on them. And the thing that bothers me about these, the iridium plugs, first of all, they're supposed to last a long time. They're supposed to last 50,000 miles. But when you put them in here and you put them in there dry, you're going to start getting the spark plug cold welding to the cylinder head. And that can cause you a lot of trouble. So if you have spark plugs that are at 50,000 mile mark, just go ahead and get them out. And if not for any reason, it's to save your spark plug, your cylinder head from cold welding. As you can see, this little band right here, I'm not sure how close we can get in and focus on it. Yeah, it's not really working. But you can see right here, the ridge is already built up. It was already starting to cold weld itself in. So what I use is anti-seize, actual Permatex brand anti-seize. I'll brush a little bit on one thread, and then I'll kind of thread the spark plug against the other one to spread that anti-seize around and make sure I get good even coverage. Anti-seize is not a seal, so it's not going to seal anything, but what it's going to do is it's going to make sure that the spark plugs aren't going to weld themselves to the cylinder head. And so that's your brief overview. It's pretty easy. Like I said, just identify your 3 here, identify your 3 in the back, and every single cylinder is the same, with the exception of the ones in the back that are going to be kind of hard to deal with because you're doing it all by feel. Okay, so here's just a quick follow-up to kind of close out this spark plug change here. As you can see, I've already got everything back together. All in all, it took me a little over an hour. That's with videotaping and everything like that. The back, it was actually pretty easy, a lot easier than I thought it was going to be. The one that I was most intimidated by was the coil pack back here. That actually ended up being the easiest one. So you have one here, and then one here. In the back here, you can kind of see where my fingertip is. These hoses back here that are soft and squishy, those are your heater lines. So those are a little bit malleable down there. You can move them around and stuff when you're trying to get that coil pack out. These right here, this metal one, this one that comes down here with that metal fitting, this is actually all your AC lines. So this is your liquid line, this is your low pressure line, and all that stuff is the stuff that goes back to the back of the vehicle for the rear AC. So you definitely don't want to be trying to bend them or get them out of the way when you're pulling the coil pack back. I mean, here it actually just popped right out. Over here we kind of had to wiggle the heater hoses around a little bit, but it came out very easily. Definitely a lot easier than I thought it was going to. So for the spark plugs here, earlier I talked about getting some sort of anti-seize on there. Definitely a good idea. As you can see, this burnt color right here on the tips, these 3 in particular were actually corroding and corroding to the head. As you can see, the threads right here are not as defined as they are down here. Okay, and that could be that the tip is poking into the combustion chamber a little bit, but it also could be that right here is where it ends, and it gets so hot that it was starting to have a reaction between the aluminum cylinder head and the steel spark plug. So you want to try to avoid that at all possible. When I was taking these out, it was kind of feeling like a creaky feeling almost, where the threads didn't want to let go, and you definitely want to avoid that. That's a bad sign. Okay, when you pull these spark plugs out, they should all look fairly uniform. As you can see, this one looks like it was getting a little hotter than the others. This guy right here was actually wet. So having it be wet is not a good thing. That shows that there's a seal that's probably going bad. And what it probably is just a little bit of oil dribbling through the O-ring on the valve cover. Because this is a hemispherical combustion chamber, so your spark plug and the coil pack and everything are actually going straight into the center of the combustion chamber, the center of the cylinder, and they need a rubber gasket to seal on the valve cover up there. When putting the spark plugs in, make sure that you try to go in as straight as possible, okay, because you don't want to mess up this gap. This gap right here is set at 44 thousandths from the factory. When I spec'd these out, these are the old plugs, they actually came out to like 70 thousandths, and I kind of attribute that to the iridium. They're very, very thin. The electrodes are. I know it's supposed to be a lot sturdier metal, but I'm not a big fan of them for a multitude of reasons. So make sure you do check your spark plugs that you're replacing them with. Make sure that they all have the 44 thousandths gap. And then also when you put these in, you notice this washer. A lot of spark plugs have a torque spec. So these guys right here, this washer is a crush washer. Okay, what I do is I got the anti-seize on there. I thread it in. You can kind of feel when it seats, and then I go one half of a revolution, because you're not going to get any extra torque on it. You're just crushing the washer there. Okay, so I seat it. I go an extra half a turn. Before you put everything together, make sure you go and recheck every single spark plug, because if you fail to tighten these, what'll happen is over time, I'm talking hundreds, thousands of miles, it'll start backing itself off. And as it's backing itself off with the banging of the explosion of the gas, it'll actually round out the hole that it goes into, and it'll strip the threads in the cylinder head. So you're going to end up having to get your cylinder head, the sleeves, the threads repaired, which can be done, but on these it's a lot more difficult than, say, an American V8. If you end up after a few months hearing a puffing noise or like a slight hesitation at idle, a lot of times it is going to be spark related, and that huffing and chuffing noise is actually the combustion gases going past the spark plug. So you definitely want to avoid that. But if you guys have any questions, comments, go ahead and throw them up, and I'll try to answer them the best I can. Thanks.